Welcome back to Smart Money. I have in studio gentlemen who are going to give us some insight. I have, as always, permanent fixture, Mr. Warren Ingram. He's the executive at SmartRand. But here to unpack the issue that is the black tax, the sandwich effect, we have the FedGroup's financial director, Scott Field, and CEO, the acting CEO of the South African Savings Institute, Mr. Gerald Mwandiambira. Welcome to you, gentlemen. When we're talking about money and the pressure that the generation that we collectively represent, I'm going to include you on that. I know you're an old Bali, but I'm going to include you here.
Thank you very much.
You know, the financial stresses, we can talk about just as a household, where we are right now. I earn a salary and I pay school fees and medical aid and all the rest of it. So I've got one family to look after. But there are broader extended families that we're also looking after. An older parent, a sibling who's not yet working, brothers and sisters who are going to university. This sandwich generation is a squeeze. How do you find it? How pervasive is it in the South African economy?
Well, I think it's something that we're seeing worldwide, a growing sandwich generation. Studies out of the UK and the US are showing that since 2006, we're up 30% in terms of people that would fall into that category that we refer to as the sandwich generation. And definitely in South Africa, we've got a large number of people who fall into that sandwich generation, and they're finding it even more difficult just to meet day's ends, let alone even considering savings and retirement savings.
Sure. Gerald, you South Africanized it and said it's a black tax. You know, from a generational point of view, our parents had a certain kind of profile of job. They educated us to get a certain new profile of jobs, but we still got financial responsibilities to change their circumstances and our siblings and our children's circumstances.
I think with South Africa is particularly unique because of the history of South Africa. The inequality, the history of inequality. You've got a generation of black middle class up and coming and starting to earn good money, competing in the corporate sphere, etc. But they are stuck with these two families they have to look after. So they have to be in the suburbs, but they've got an entire family which sometimes uses them as an ATM. So we sometimes call it black tax, but South Africa is even more unique that you've even got the white tax, where you've now got the BEE laws coming in, where an older white professional who is reaching early retirement age, which is 55, had planned conscientiously to retire at 65 with their financial planner, but they're being asked to leave early to make way for another generation of black graduates coming through. So this is hitting the economy hard, and according to the Old Mutual Savings and Investment Monitor, looking at over 20% of South Africans in this sandwich generation. And the question is here, do we have solutions to help these people save? Because if you do not create the safety net, the generation just gets bigger and bigger, and it effectively represents the gap between rich and poor.
Okay. All of my financial solutions are run by this man. I'm going to sit back. Warren, take it from here.
So what are you doing about it?
I think what we're doing about it as the South African Savings Institute, we had a savings convention and an expert panel discussing this problem, which came from private and public sector. So you have government, national treasury, and the financial institutions sitting around a table, the Old Mutuals, Nedbanks, etc., FNBs, One Life. Let's talk. Let's see how we can find solutions, because the only product which seems to be addressing this problem in South Africa right now seems to be the funeral policy, and that only addresses the needs of the person who's lying in the coffin.
Sure.
So what you're saying is you guys are talking about it?
We want to find solutions.
I mean, I think the one thing that we have picked up that is a good step in the right direction is the tax-free savings products that government recently introduced. We certainly see that as a good step in the right direction, in that sandwich generation that is currently being squeezed so hard at least has a little bit of a break from a tax perspective, and they're able to at least not be taxed on those savings, and it's just giving that first step, I believe, in the right direction in terms of addressing
this. Is the way you solve the problem.
Yes, sir.
You look at Asia, for example. You look at Singapore. You look at even to an extent in China. There's the carrot, which is the tax-free savings, and that's wonderful. But what we know about human beings is human beings never do what we're supposed to do. That's the rare minority. What happens is we do what we're forced to do. So if you want to solve this problem and you want to get this sandwich generation to at least start to break the cycle, what we do is we as a country and as a government force savings. In other words, we say, when you start work, there is no question, you're not given the option of contributing to a retirement fund. You're obliged to contribute to a retirement fund. Oh, and by the way, to the unions, you have to leave the money there. You know, this whole thing of stopping retirement reform because we don't want to allow to stop our members now accessing their money, that's rubbish. You have to stop members accessing their money. You have to start creating a long-term savings culture. And if you look at the successful countries that have done it, they didn't give people a choice. They forced them to save. And that's really, in all honesty, I was giving you a hard time about talking about it because that's what the deal is. We have to force them to do it.
Yeah. Now, you are touching on... you see it in the Constitution where there is a lot of liberalism. You can decide and choose, and you've got the right and unfettered. And then you're talking about specific state intervention and touching us on our money, which is a challenge. I hear what you're trying to say, but the legislation that we've got, we don't have prescribed assets anymore. We don't have those forced products, which might be to our own detriment.
Well, I think it's I'd hate to force people to say this is how that money must be invested. I think there has to be an element of choice. But I do think what we need to do is say that you are forced to save. In other words, you start work and you're earning 1,000 Rand a month, then 150 Rand of that has to go to a retirement fund. By the way, you're not allowed to touch that until you're 55 at the earliest. That's the deal.
But I got retrenched halfway through the story. I got divorced. My life circumstances changed. So this beautiful financial plan that you put isn't the reality.
Fair enough. But I think the deal is still that unless you create that and you force the issue, I mean, allowing, and I think that's one of the proposals by government, is that you're allowed to access 10% of your retirement money on an annual basis. That's okay. To me, I'd be a bit harder and say, no chance.
Don't vote for this man if he ever ran for public office. On the other side of the break, we're talking about the sandwich generation and some release, the plan when you're including for not just your immediate, but your extended family. We'll see you on the other side of this break.